Inkscape is like Photoshop. It's an open source app that works 100% free and free to download. Go to current version. Then you choose the operating system for your computer. It's either Linux or Windows or Mac. I already put a link to this website in the description. Get it from there. Here is the app, the Inkscape app. The first here is the object selector, and here is the node selector. We can't use these two selectors now because there is nothing to select, and that is why up here is gray out. We can't do anything here. So let's start with this. To create a rectangle, just pick the tool and drag. Then you have your rectangle. You can change the color here. But what if I want to create a perfect square shape? It's simple. Just hold your Control or Command key, then you drag. Control or Command, then you drag. You have perfect shape. It works like that for every shape you want to create. Then you change the color at the bottom there. Then you pick the selector, the object selector, to select it. Then click again. Then you see the arrow turns. It allows you to rotate the shape. Then this dot in the middle here is the axis for the rotation. You can make adjustments to the rotation by dragging that out and try to rotate. You see that? But for this demo, I'm going to return the axis rotator to the center. Click again and adjust the shape as you want. Now pick the node selector. Then you see this circle node. And be careful here, is not the square node now, not this, and not this. Is this one that looks like circle or diamond shape. Click and drag to give it a kind of round edges. You can play around it as much as you want, and you can go as far as this. But for this demo, I'm going to return it. Then I want to give it a stroke, that is to give it a kind of frame. All you need to do is hold your Shift key and press the color you want as the stroke around the shape. I just give it red stroke now. I hold my Shift, I click blue to give it blue stroke around the shape. Then you want to adjust, you may want to adjust the size of the thickness of the stroke, the frame. Then you just right click, fill and stroke. Then you have these options here. You can also get it from object, then you see fill and stroke under object. It also lands you here. Now to adjust the size of this stroke, so go to stroke style. You see the measurement is on millimeters. You can click on the plus button a couple of times to get this result as you want, and you can use the minus key to return it as you want as well. You can also input direct numbers to adjust the size you want. Now let's pick the next one, is circle or oval tool. Hold your Control or Command to have perfect shape. Right click to adjust the stroke, that's the outline. You can select, change the color, and to change the outline, to change the line around it, you can just hold your Shift key and pick the color you want. I just changed it to red, then adjust it as well. Then when you pick your node selector, then you see this circle, then it allows you to create an arc. Just play around it as you want. You can create a kind of semicircle or half circle and use this combination of different stuff to create whatever shape you want. The selector there, then you can click again to rotate like I showed you before. This is just playing around the rotation for you to see that you can rotate to any direction you want. And the next is the star tool. When you drag, with your control key to make it perfect if you want a perfect shape. Then change the color. To change the stroke, the line around it, hold my shift and give it black. You can see it's now on black stroke, that is black outline around it. To adjust the shape, pick your node selector, then click on this dot here, and you can adjust the shape as much as you want. And the next is to create a 3D shape. So when you create like that, you can just use the nodes to adjust and use this to convert to any shape you want. And here is the spiral tool. The spiral tool is a fantastic one. You can just pick the nodes to work around it as you want. Then change the color there. Now this is a line, so to work on the outline, the size of the outline, make sure you have it selected. Then you right click, fill and stroke. Then you go to stroke style. Then play around the numbers there or use the plus and minus key to work around it. You can also work on the dashes as you want. Pick any style of dash that you want. Then you select with the arrow selector. Hold your control or command to resize as you want. And instead of using control or command to adjust that, you can also do that manually by going to this padlock here. So when you lock the padlock, then you are free to resize as you want without holding any control or command. If that padlock is locked up or if it's opened, then you need to hold your control or command to make sure you retain the dimensions of your shape. Otherwise, you get it distorted. And the next is the Bezier tool. You use the Bezier tool to draw freehand lines and curves. So to use that, just click at a starting point and you drag and click as you continue drawing the lines as you want. Drag and click, drag and click. And if you want to make a curve, for example, you want to make a curve from this point to this point. So just click on the ending point, but don't release your mouse. So just adjust. When you're fine, then you click. Then you continue clicking and dragging for the shape you're creating. Then when you're done at the end, make sure you come back to your starting point. Then you select it with the object selector and give it any color you like. I would like to give it black, so it can work like it can serve as silhouette. And if you want to give it an outline or a stroke around it, then hold your shift and select the color, and not just the color alone. Shift and the color will give it an outline. Since this is not visible but it's already there, so you can adjust the stroke or the outline. Right click, click on stroke and fill to get this stroke style. Then you adjust the size of the width of the stroke you're creating, and you can see the red around it now. I use the plus button to zoom in and minus button to zoom out to see it. And if I don't want any outline around it at all, just hold the shift and click this X here. Then the outline goes away. So the next is the freehand pen tool. Freehand pen tool. You need to adjust the starting point at the top here. So make adjustments. So this allows you to have a particular size of width of what you want. Then you click and drag to draw. It's also a drawing tool as well. Then when you select all this that we created, you see they are differently standing on their own, but you can put all of them together. I use Ctrl Z or Command Z to undo this, or you can also undo from here. Or you use your Ctrl Z or Command Z to undo as well. And you use this button to redo, or you use Ctrl Y or Command Y to redo. Then the next thing is you need to select all of them since they are different objects now. So select all of them and use, select all of them, yes. Then you use Command G or Ctrl G to make them one. Now you can see it's now one object. Command G or Ctrl G. You can also right click to get the option to group. When you right click, I hold my Ctrl key and reshape, so I don't lose the dimensions of the work I just did. This other one is also a pen tool that has flat mouth kind of. So you can also use it to draw depending on what you want. You can also use it to draw. And the next is our text tool. So here you pick your text tool to type. Now when it seems too tiny, just select it. Hold your Control or Command, then adjust as you want it. You see that? If I don't hold my Control key, I lose the dimensions. You can also use this padlock at the top here to lock it, then drag freely without holding any key. Now when you right click on it, you go to text and font, and you have this option to change the font that you want. I'll be using this. Apply, and there is it. I don't need this again. So this is the font I will be using. You can change the color of the letters. You can also give it an outline by holding your Shift and the color you want as outline or stroke. Now you can make these letters to stand one by one. Instead of making all of them to be one object, you can make each letter to be an object of its own. But before that, I would like to show you the gradient tool. The gradient tool is that. Pick the gradient tool and drag. Then it allows gradient color. You can make a gradient for what you have created, determining the direction of the gradient flow. Then I pick this color picker. I select this, then I pick my color picker. Then it works for the gradient. You can see the change. So that's a perfect blend of the gradients. Just pick any color of what you have on your screen. Then I select it. Buttons here are to rotate. Just play around these buttons at the top here to see whichever rotation works for you as you want, depending on the objects you're working on. That's my arrow, pick and select. As you see right now, the word love is in front of all the shapes that we've created. What if you want to probably send one object from the back to come to the front of the other object, depending on the way you are trying to arrange? It's very possible. I'm sending this backward now. You can see that, sending it backward. So that's just the way it works. So you can make one object to be behind the other, you can make the one to be another one to be in front of the other. So that's just the way it works. You can see the changes as you keep adjusting the position of the objects. And this here is to manually adjust the height, the width, and the size of whatever shape you have selected. You can adjust manually from the top there. So instead of dragging like this, you can just input numbers there to adjust the size of whatever shape you're working on at the moment. We need to put this as part of our project. We don't need to leave this beside. And in case you want to add another object, maybe from your computer, you want to bring another object to be part of this project you're working on, you can just import from this button here that has arrow going into the page. Or you come to File and you go to Import. I prefer using this. File, then Import, and it takes you to wherever you have the file you want on your computer. I'm using this. I leave all this as default. Okay, and here is it. So that's how to bring any other file as part of what you want to work on. Then I try to send it to back. And to save your work, I would like to save it as an SVG first. So click on File and Save As. Then by default you see Inkscape, but I want it as plain SVG. If you put it on Inkscape, it means only Inkscape app will be able to open the file you are creating. Other apps like Photoshop will not be able to, so I prefer plain SVG for saving the file there. But if you want to save it as a PNG, come to this button here where you have the arrow going out of the page. Then that opens this. Now if I select one object, then I will just be saving only that object alone and everything behind it actually, but not the whole page items. Then make sure it is on 300 dpi and click on Export. But if you want to save all the work you have on your page, then you need to be sure that no object is out of the page. Select all of them with Ctrl A or Command A, then you drag and adjust. Okay, there is no object outside. We are sure there is no object outside the page, so just make sure that everything is well set into the page.